All right, hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your market and option recap for Wednesday, May 23rd. So a nice reversal day for the markets. There were some key levels that we bounced from this morning. It was one of the first things that I noticed this morning is that we had a bit of support. And I was saying, and I put this out on Twitter this morning. I said, I hope that we hold this 2709 level in S&P futures. That was the bottom of value for the weekly, for this week's. Sorry, I'll say that again. That was the bottom of value for this week's valuary. That's on the 1 hour bar. And we held there nicely because I just did not want to see us break because we do have this VPOC sitting down here at 2670. So the way this works with these version point of controls is you don't necessarily have to worry about them until you get outside of value. So we held nicely here, and you can see that we rallied all the way through the value area. So pretty neat and clean for us to go all the way from the bottom to the top of the value area. And we'll see what we get for tomorrow. So I wanted to talk a little bit of strategy. I'll talk about a couple really nice movers that were caught in the trading room today. Congratulations to those who played Netflix. A few other names acted pretty well today too, but I just wanted to go into the S&P chart a little bit further. You could see Thinkorswim is hesitating there a bit, but you could see a nice hammer bar, right off the 20-day moving average, and also that line that I've got. I've got a few lines actually drawn here, but you could see the second line that I've got drawn, which is acting as a bit of support as well. Notice we have not gotten out where we were earlier in the week, but at least a nice, I would say a nice, call it a kick save, which I think is pretty impressive. So what happened today? What kind of turned us around? Two things, right? Emerging markets are becoming a big worry. Turkey is one of them. I think there was a lot of worries this morning. The first thing when I woke up this morning and turned on Bloomberg Radio, I was hearing about the Turkish lira has really been crumbling. And I apologize because I don't know who the speaker was, but they were saying, I think it was Lisa Abramowitz, which I like a lot on Bloomberg, really adds a lot of value, especially in the fixed income space. But she was saying, hey, what's going on with these guys? They need to increase interest rates to kind of to stabilize the currency. So they did that. I guess probably the end of their market, and you could see what happened to the Turkey ETF. This is TUR, and it shot up like out of a cannon. And this was down a lot. I think this was down 3 or 4%. I mean, I think that's around like a 10% swing, probably close to a 10% swing from low to high. So that's good. Just to kind of get the focus off of the emerging markets a little bit. We'll see what they do tonight. On my wish list for tonight, I would say is to have some of the Asian markets rally a bit. A nice relief rally. I think that would be very constructive. I think people are getting more and more worried about emerging markets, so I think that would be pretty good. And then the second catalyst today was the Fed minutes that happened at 2 o'clock. They seem to throw in a wrinkle of dovishness. So I think that is very positive as well. Also, if you look at the S&P chart on the 5-minute bar, notice where we rallied right into. So we did rally into some resistance. Again, I think for the way today turned out, I think you have to be happy with that. But we rallied right into the top of value for the day. So again, pretty strong. A little bit of back and forth kind of a flag pattern. It looked like we were almost going to break lower, and it might get ugly today. But it is a tricky market to trade. We're just seem to be on the fringe of looking like we might break down a bit, and then we come back pretty nicely. So Netflix, was the star of the day. Absolute 45-degree angle, I would say, up and to the right from the lows. So we talked about this pre-market. I had mentioned the two names. Of the FANG names, and I may not be 100% correct here, but obviously you can't trade every name. But I do like the Netflix and Amazon. That's the half of the FANG that I really like. So killer bar today. If you played this in Netflix, congratulations to you. I've been in Amazon. I've been selling. I've been short put spreads, right, which is a bullish trade. I've been collecting premium. Basically, whenever there's a little bit of red in Amazon, I've been doing this trade, and it's been working pretty well. But take a look. There was a little bit of a catalyst, I would say, for Amazon. I think Cohen increased their price target to 2,000 from 1,900 to 2,000. So that helped. And look at that bar in Amazon. So, you go back to one of the videos that I talked about last week. There was a big Amazon call buyer, and Amazon really hasn't done anything since that call buyer. It also hasn't done anything since this gap up on earnings. But I think, and I said this last week when we saw that call buyer go up, and why I've been kind of positioning long in Amazon. I think we take out the highs at some point in the near future in Amazon. But that's just an opinion. I'm positioned that way, and I hope it happens. That's 1638, but I think that looks really good. A couple other names, kind of sneaky, was Microsoft. Microsoft made a 52-week high today too. So, it's one of those things where, a couple things, right? I mean, you want to be, I think in this market, you want to just stick to the strength. Clearly, just one day, and Microsoft does this. I still like this IGV ETF. We got a couple names that are reporting in this ETF on Thursday. NTNX reports, VEEV reports, Splunk reports, in the software space. So it'll be really interesting to see how those names, I don't know if I'm going to play any of those names, but I will go over it tomorrow in the trading room for those software names that are reporting tomorrow. But still very strong, and managed to finish this group up 1.3%. And it seems like whenever there's a little bit of a market dip, these names just whip right back. So very nice. I'll start going over today's option activity, but before I do that, I think this market is particularly tricky. And we've said this before, or I've said this before in some of the other videos. I'll leave this up as I'm talking. But, if you're feeling like this is like the intraday volatility is a little bit too much, it's a little bit too whippy price action, there are things that you could do. You could start to, take some profits. In a day like this where things were pretty green, if you were in Netflix, take some money off and move a little bit more into cash so that you get a better comfort level. And then kind of go from there. I mean, for example, not every trade that I'm going to do is going to be perfect, but I put on a couple of trades this morning. I wanted to buy the dip a little bit, but I put on Square this morning. It wasn't working right off the bat. And I said, you know what? It's a July trade. I've got a couple trades now on in July, which I view as short term. Just took it right off. I mean, I think I lost 5 cents on it, and just move on. You don't want to get glued to the screen, watching a position that's causing you pain, or if you've got too many positions on. Right? I still think that this is not the right environment to have, regardless of the nice reversal that we had today. I still think this is not the right environment to have a lot of positions on. You want to leave yourself plenty of room for this kind of choppy market, so that when you do get a nice, dip, you're there to kind of buy the weakness there. All right, so that's just a little bit about strategy. I think continuing to kind of look at setups and be patient, wait till they materialize. I think Nvidia is also looking pretty good. In terms of a setup. Really nice candle in that name as well. Pushing that name, pushing that name up and a bit over this. This is a name that had good earnings and has done nothing. So has actually been decreasing since it came out of earnings. So nice looking bar there. There was a little bit of calls today, so of the weekly variety. All right, let me start going over a couple trades from the day that I thought were a couple standout trades. I'm not going to go over obviously all of them. I thought so. So by the way, I didn't talk at all about bonds, but I think a nice relief rally. For the most part, the bonds held their bid today. But again, we're getting those headlines, and it scares people a bit when they talk about yields going higher. So again, you have to remember that does a 10 or 20 basis point move in interest rates on the long side of the curve really affect that much? Probably not, but it gets in people's heads that rates are moving higher, and it is a people do make decisions based on emotions and based on, things that they're saying and the amount of times that people talk about this stuff. So anyway, bonds having a nice relief rally helped. I think it helped the home builders. Lowe's was a name today that did very well today, but also we saw a little bit of call buying in the home builders. Not that I want to get into this group, but we seem to be seeing a lot of buying in this DHI whenever it's down. The housing sales that came out today were not that great. So that was I thought an interesting trade from the lows. Tiffany's, geez, what a move in Tiffany's. Price target raised. Look at this thing, up 23%. So this was pretty interesting. We saw a call buyer to actually hit twice in SIG. Now this did not finish on the highs, but this is a name, if you're looking for a name with high short interest and a little bit of a counter trend trade, I think this might set up pretty well. So here's what they did in Signet Jewelers. So again, they're in the same industry. Obviously, Tiffany's is more of an iconic brand than, what is this, K Jewelers or Zales, Jared in SIG. But they went after October 50 calls. They also bought a little bit of the January 50 calls as well. So I think if this thing gets going, it has a chance to really. So I'm long. I got long this name today, and I bought a little bit of stock too because the option implied volatility is definitely juiced. It's a 47%, so that's not cheap. So make sure you give yourself some time if you're looking at that trade. IBB, we've been seeing a little bit of call buying. So I've talked about this. I shot a video last weekend about the difference between small cap biotech, which this is the small cap biotech ETF. If you didn't see the video, it's been screaming. This is your best performing area, I believe. I haven't checked it in the last couple of days, but as of last week, it's your best performing group year to date. It's up almost 30%. Small cap biotech. And then if you switch over to IBB, which again, first of all, that PSCH ETF is small cap biotech. IBB is more large cap, right? It's market cap weighted, so the bigger names get the higher weights. Has done nothing, right? And some of the charts, like Celgene and so forth, really look bad. They did go ahead and buy some calls. I did not take this trade, but I was interested. I was watching it all day long because this is not the first time that we've seen IBB calls this week. I think this is the second or third time. Not huge trades, but it's been kind of steady. So I would watch this 200-day moving average. Even if you're looking for a small swing, maybe up to this VPOC at about 110. So you're looking at a 3 or 4%, maybe about a 3% move in IBB that'll get you to this VPOC. So again, I did not take this trade. You can't take every trade; it's impossible. A couple trades at the end of the day. By the way, they did buy some Williams-Sonoma calls. I think that name had good earnings. Might as well just check because I'm curious. I don't like to follow same-day option activity, but let's see what Williams-Sonoma is doing. Yeah, it's up. Yeah, all these names, these retail names, just unbelievable. The Lowe's reversal, just amazing, I would say, right? From where this thing was pre-market. I'm surprised Home Depot did not follow the move today in Lowe's. I mean, it started low, but Home Depot, you would think, because they both seem to have said similar things. Home Depot was finished down on the day, and you would think, considering that they both have now said that May sales have been pretty strong, but a name on my watch list, but didn't do anything that large. And then there was a couple interesting trades that went up right before the Fed minutes. A little bit of buying, maybe not Fold. I think Fold is a small cap biotech name, but they bought these Lamb Research calls, which I thought was pretty aggressive to do that. So keep an eye on this name. They bought this. This was right in here. That was the first green bar that they bought the Lamb Research. It wasn't a huge move, but it certainly got going after the Fed minutes. There was also a little bit of Match.com calls too, so another momentum name. Let's see where this finished. Yeah, those calls were bought right in here in Match.com. Just a couple other trades to kind of round out. Interesting activity in Deutsche Bank. This was an opening trade in DB. It does go ex-div, so maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe that's why they're doing that trade. It goes ex-div on the 25th. I did not see that. Not a big dividend, though. But you could see what they did here. And the name did move up, 19,000. They were not swept. They went up mid-market. But then they also followed up with a little bit of October's calls as well. There was headlines on Deutsche Bank today saying that they're going to not only have job cuts in the U.S., but also in their global markets division, but also globally. And then there was a pretty decent sized EEM put trade as well that hit at the end of the day. I don't know, maybe a hedge. August 42 puts that went up in EEM that were swept. These were swept. So not every trade that went up was bullish. These were sweep opening puts. I hope that trade does not work for them. And then lastly, maybe a name to watch for tomorrow. Didn't do much today. Did climb back from the lows. Baba, considering what Amazon did, take a look at Baba for tomorrow. They bought some weekly calls. Maybe this gets going. There's been a couple names. There was some big JD calls that went up this morning. It kind of fizzled. This was more on chatter, I thought, than anything else today. And it kind of gave back since they mentioned this on the CNBC halftime show, and it did nothing but sell off since they mentioned it. A couple names in this space that have had some really good strength. BZUN. I did get out of my trade today. I had a small trade on. And BZUN, these names, I've talked about this in one of the videos after earnings. Sometimes these names, after they come out of consolidation, can really run, and I think that's what BZUN is doing. I played this after earnings. I took profits, and then I added some back in here. I think either yesterday, I think I may have added that position. But I'm out now, but still think it could run. What else? This IQ still looks interesting. I took my profits in this one. Kind of felt like I wanted to get back in at the end of the day, but did not do it. So anyway, I think that's enough names to talk about. A little bit longer than normal video for the day. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.